But we started strong. Right out of the gate again. Like Mussolini! But he didn't have a partner. It was clobbering time. We had the music. We had the signs. We had the chants. It was big time stuff. Here comes CM Punk. And he's going to wrestle Bobby Fish, which makes sense because he's the one that ran Fish off, last Friday night when he was beating up and roughing up that young man that he had already defeated. And CM Punk wasn't going to stand for it. So there's a reason for this. And there's a heel and a baby face. And they're both professionals, serious professionals. And they're up first. Great way to start. Jim Ross had something to call. Did you notice he actually sounded like he was not only interested, but that he actually could call some type of wrestling strategy like he did in the old days, because they were actually doing something worth calling. Fish is aggressive. Punk gets pops from body slams because the way he places them and the way he paces his match. Fish got heat and Punk fought from underneath. He hit one good-looking dive. In the middle of the heat, Punk didn't even make a comeback. He clotheslined him over the top and hit one good-looking dive and got big chance. But then Fish took back over and worked the leg. They went to the floor briefly to get the fucking point across. And then Fish actually broke the count. Imagine that. And then went out and got him and got back in the ring. And was all over Punk's leg. There was a spot where they were fighting on the ropes and Punk knocked Fish off and hit an elbow off the top. And honestly, it looked a little awkward. I think Fish landed or positioned himself straight out with his feet towards the buckle and his head far away. I don't know how that was going to work, but Punk modified. But they traded the forearms on the knees. Both guys were selling. And then finally Punk made his big comeback, but he still sold the effects of the heat. He was still limping. And then Fish foiled the go to sleep as Punk went for it, but Punk jackknifed him. They got the double bridge in. And then Punk hit the go to sleep. 1, 2, 3, or was it? This was confusing because I think it stepped on the pop because Fish kicked out a fraction of a second after the 3 count to the point where I was thinking that were they trying to make it where it was 1, 2, 3 and he kicked out, but it just a fraction of a second too late as they called. The announcers called it that way. But in honest to God, the way that he kicked out that quick, it looked like he was trying to beat the count, and Punk kind of looked at the referee like, was that it? So I'm not sure. It was confusing, but the way they did it stepped a little bit on the pop on the 1, 2, 3. That's what I mean. What did you see?
I didn't think too much of the kick out. It seemed a little late if they were going to do that, but the look to the referee was what made me think either something happened or they're trying to make us think something happened. The booking of Punk's been interesting because we brought up the guys he's been wrestling on TV in competitive matches. And now it's competitive matches that he's having a difficult time winning.
Yeah.
So obviously this is part of a bigger story. I'm curious where this is going to go.
He's having actually like a clinic match. Every match that he has is different. It's tailored to the opponent, whether he's wrestling a nominal babyface or a full-fledged heel or whatever, whether he's got the underneath guy, Daniel Garcia, but with the Stooges at ringside to interfere, or whether it's just one guy like Fish. Everything means something. The matches are logical. They don't bury the referee. They don't do any of the bad habit things that we constantly malign most of the people on this roster for, that don't have any boundaries or structure in their matches. So they're perfect. It's like you can learn how to work from watching these matches. The question is, should a star of the level of CM Punk not only be wrestling this often on free television to make it in people's minds routine, but should it be this competitive? And, Fish, he just looks good and he can get the shit across. But when you're taking the body of work into account, should he have been competitive this much with all these guys when you've still got guys farther up on the pecking order? Since the matches are so good, it's hard to fault that. I think the bigger thing is it's just that he's wrestling often enough now that it's becoming routine before we get to the meat of the matter, the main event guys. That's what I think maybe, the issue that I might have is not that he's having matches this competitive, because he still wins and they're all great. They're all logical, but it's also now, again, August 20th. We didn't know whether August 19th, is CM Punk ever going to wrestle again? By not even November 1st, well, boy, we've seen him a lot lately. That's what I worry about. Anyway, I'll say that again. But then again, I'm just trying to figure out who would be the best main event level guy right now for Punk to get involved with. And I'm not sure I know, because I'm not sure I know who I can trust these days. After the main event, I really don't know who I can trust. Who?
I know what the answer is.
Who? What?
If you really wanted to do something and do some business and make it really good and not have to burn guys out with matches, because you could do promos every week and keep it fresh and interesting and people would be dying to see the match on a pay-per-view, Punk and heel Cody. That's the fucking ticket. Cody, full-blown heel with his wife, goes back on the stipulation. That's the perfect opponent for Punk.
Well, but now, then you'd have to have both of those guys cooperating to do that. And we'll hear later on that one of them has no intention of giving the people what they want.
That's true.
So Malachi Black did a spooky promo in backstage somewhere in the black, but after seeing him groveling and slobbering on Cody on the reality show, thanking him for putting him over and giving him this opportunity, and I'm so unworthy, I'm not as intimidated by this guy as I used to be. Because now I know that he's the same as all the rest of them. He's just happy to be there, and he's doing what he's told. Thanks to the reality show, I know that. They hadn't made that clear on the wrestling program, which is why that people were interested in this guy. But now that they've made it clear that he's as phony as a football bat like the rest of them, I'm not as intimidated by him. So I'm glad we got that reality show for 5 miserable weeks. I must admit, I got 3 cards in the mail over the last couple of months, all with "ha" on them. And one guy wanted me to autograph my action figure. Ha!